Other Record Labels is supported by Lander. As you may know, here at Other Record Labels, we've always been on the lookout for a reputable digital distributor that we can confidently recommend to our community, something I get asked about on a weekly basis. And we're proud to say that we finally found it with Lander Digital Distribution. Not only are they an incredible company with so many features included in your membership, but they're also a Spotify preferred distributor. Lander makes getting your music on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, TikTok, and tons of other platforms incredibly easy. Plus, they offer fair pricing, no hidden fees, and artist-friendly terms, which is exactly what independent artists and labels like us need. And I'm personally quite fond of the mastering services and the free plugins and some of the samples that you get as well. I'm really incredibly grateful to Lander for making these weekly episodes possible. If you're looking for a trusted distributor to help get your music heard, check out Lander using our special link in the episode description, or just head to otherrecordlabels.com/Lander. That's spelled Landr. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Other Record Labels. I'm your host, Scott Orr, where we talk about the art and culture of running an independent record label. Today's guest is Hunter from Mean World Records. This is an incredible Denver-based indie record label that's doing things differently. From their bold branding to their local showcases, their emphasis on Denver, and even their own line of coffee. This label is just more than a label. It's what we talk about, right? It's about being a community, a collective, a vibe, an aesthetic, a curator. There's just so much more than being a record label. Listen, I occasionally will go online to social media. You've heard of social media, right? And I'll look at some of the threads of what people are talking about. And for some reason, I've gotten into this kind of record label algorithm. Well, not for some reason. I know how I've gotten into this record label algorithm. But for some reason, they're showing me these posts about people who are kind of dissing on record labels and the lack of need for record labels. And as you all know, this is my life's work, my life's passion, that I love record labels. I grew up reading the spines and the backs of CDs and the J cards of cassettes from the 80s and wondering about these record labels. One of the first times I ever read about the address of a record label, I just assumed it was where the music was made. And, you know, actually that was the case years and years and years ago. But I just thought like there was this address and like you go there and all your favorite artists are in there in a studio recording music, and they press whatever, a button, and a tape pops out and then it goes to the record stores. Anyway, I've always been obsessed with record labels. So I'm still passionate today that we need record labels and why they exist. And so when I see people crapping on the existence of record labels in this day and age, it bothers me so much and I get so defensive. And I'm working on something really big as a way to kind of counteract that. So stay tuned. But, you know, today is just another great example, Mean World Records. And people are mean to record labels for some reason. And yet here we are, and people like Hunter and the folks at Mean World doing some incredible stuff. And I think you're going to love today's episode. We dive into how the label started, why they're so community driven, and what it really means to support local music. So let's get into it. I was in Denver. I think I've been to Denver twice. And the one time I was in Denver, I was there like on a business trip for a company I worked for many, many years ago. And it was back when American Idol was still a thing. And I was just happened to be there the week that American Idol auditions were happening. And I was staying at a hotel with all of these like kids who were singing in the lobby, like in the elevator. It was so fun. And like at the stadium is where they had all the auditions that where the Broncos play. Anyway, that was fun.
Oh, geez.
Denver's a beautiful town.
I can imagine that, like, yeah, it's very like the kind of in between of having like the city and the mountains and the scenery and everything is like perfect, honestly.
It's so cool. Yeah, it's so cool. Give me the history of your label. I'm just kind of curious. Like I'm surprising you don't have an about section on your website, which I kind of like because it's never, it's not always about the label. Like some labels, their about section is like a book. So I kind of appreciate
definitely.
that. But I'm curious
Yeah, so we started this label. It's me and two other friends. We started it it'll be like 2 years in September. So like September of 2023. So
wow, that's actually not that old.
We had been we were all playing in a band together and had like played in some other projects, and we're all kind of doing all of the logistic management stuff for like our bands. And it kind of we were all kind of like, why don't we just start doing this not only for like our artists, but for like our friends, and kind of using our resources and combining them. And
yeah, that's really interesting because that's exact same way that I got started. Just a friend circle of musicians, bands, a couple people in the same bands, and then the drummer also played in another band. And it's like a label already existed, it just didn't have a name. Was that true for you?
Yeah, basically, like we were kind of already doing all this stuff, and the name actually, like Mean World, because I feel like when you start thinking of a name, when you're like, for anything, for a band, a company, you're like, that's one of the hardest parts in my mind. And my friend Jake, who runs the label with me, he plays in this band called In Plain Air. He fantastic. He was like, we're brainstorming, and he starts sending me this like old Instagram account that he has from like when he was in like high school. And there's like a picture of like a snare drum and just some random stuff that he had just like written Mean World on because he thought it was a cool name.
Yeah.
And he was like, what about this? And I was like, that's it. And he's like, it's like,
well, it's ironic too, because Mean World, we live in such a loving world. Everyone's always happy. Everything's going bubbly and rosy all the time. I'm joking. But that's what's kind of cool is like Mean World. I love that as like a kind of a representation, because from what I've read online about the name Mean World and how like it's the juxtaposition that you're representing, right? You're representing like a haven in the mean world. And that to me is like a great way to describe the collective, that community that you had before you even put the name on it.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like the way that we kind of think about it is like the world, like everything from just like the world in general to like the music industry to everything is just like such a terrible place that like being able to kind of just like come in and like kind of be that like haven or like the little like light in the darkness is kind of like what we're like hoping to do.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So it goes back 2 years now. And I mean, that's like, what's interesting, because I didn't know that wasn't like apparent on your website. You have a lot of releases, you have a lot of product, you have a presence, and that's really, today it's the only way we can judge a company is if like it looks like that building has been there for a couple of years. So tell me about like that, how quickly everything came together, because 2 years is not a long time.
Yeah. So I definitely think like before we probably started in like September, we were planning like basically the whole year of 2023, kind of just like starting to get like names, sort of figure out what people were interested in, what kind of stuff, just building everything out, getting, as soon as we got the name, the biggest thing for me was like getting a logo designed and getting like the branding on point before we put out anything, because I also know like from being in other bands and stuff, it's like, if you have a logo, you make a bunch of t-shirts and stuff, put out an album, and then you're like, all right, well, we want to do something different. But you still have all of that. It's just like a lot to, it's kind of like using all the mistakes from like playing in bands over years to like apply to kind of helping out some other artists locally and just like friends and be like, don't do these mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's smart. And that, you're absolutely right. Like starting a label is not too different from starting a band, and especially in the way of like naming it and picking that type of aesthetic. Going back to the collective that you had in that community, when you kind of said, let's start a label, was it just you and your partner, or how did that kind of funnel down to who's actually going to run this thing? Whose label is this?
So it's kind of between like, so like the owners are myself, my friend Jake, who came up with the name. He does like a ton of, he's amazing with all of the like booking and logistical stuff. And then our other friend Jason, he is also just amazing with like website stuff and marketing and all of the, again, like booking and everything. So we were all kind of doing all of those things on our own for like our bands, you know, like booking our own bands tours and reaching out for opening slots and figuring out all the like merch designs and doing all of that. So as we were kind of like figuring it out, it was just like that band that we were all in kind of started to fizzle out. And I think at that point we were like, we're all doing so much, like there's so much momentum that we should figure out something to do like together.
Yeah.
But I think we were all just kind of like, we all play in other bands. So it's like, I don't want to start another band.
Yeah.
You know, but we've always done like the management stuff. And so it just kind of felt very like natural to us.
Well, I want to ask you, and I want to ask you about like some of the roles and some of the things that you do, because that's, and we're going to get into all of that. What about for you personally? Like, what is it that you do and what do you like to do? Because you kind of talked a little bit about the different people involved in the label and some of the things that they're good at. I think that's a genius way when you're working with multiple people. It's like, there's no reason that two like, live music enthusiasts should start a label together. It's like you need to have a show booker and you need to have like someone who loves spreadsheets or someone who loves is a great graphic designer or something. So do you have like a lane?
I'm kind of like that, like the spreadsheet, the logistic person. I've always kind of been like, I started playing in bands when I was 14 and kind of immediately became like the person that was just like reaching out about the shows and putting the shows together. And I really enjoyed that. I think part of that is because I was the bass player and I grew up like wanting to be a guitar player, learned the guitar, ended up joining a band with friends. Everyone else played guitar. So it's like, I'll play bass.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a very like typical way that people like start the bass. But I feel like in my head, because of that, it was like, all right, well, I'm just playing. I don't know. I feel like I'm not important. It's like, I need to start learning skills and doing stuff to like, not just be the bass player.
Yeah.
In my head. And but I really like fell in love with just all of that and like being able to curate lineups and find bands and just do all of the kind of like background stuff is fun for me.
Yeah. And that's so important, people listening. Like you have to love the process. I think if you just want to have your logo on a t-shirt, or you just want to, you know, see your record label logo on the spine of a CD or a vinyl, like you just have to love the boring stuff. You have to kind of get a kick out of the spreadsheets or, you know, the long-term planning. You know, I always got a kick out of knowing that I was working on something that is going to become something in the real world in 18 months from now. I always get a kick out of the fact that I'm building something that nobody will hear or see for 2 years. That energized me.
Definitely the mystery of kind of always working in the shadows a little bit, and people are always kind of like, oh, like what are you guys doing? What are you putting out? What's next? And I'm like, can't really, and can't talk about it that much.
Yeah,
but being able to for me, being able to just do all of that, and also be able to reach out and do like cool collabs with other Denver companies, and kind of just like have freedom to figure out whatever we want to do, and whatever ideas we have, just find a way to like make it happen.
Yeah.
It's been like really cool.
Oh, that's great. I'm happy to hear that. And that's something actually on this show over 7 or 8 years, I've never really put my finger on that, like working in the shadows, and that is a great feeling. Let's talk about Denver, because I'm curious if that is intentionally a part of your identity. Denver is a cool town. It's a bit of a mysterious town. As you mentioned, it's like this somewhat weird, like liberal arts town, like in the West or Midwest or whatever you call it. And I romanticize it a little bit too. Like I remember walking down like a city street and you can see someone kayaking, like from downtown, like it's just like, it's just a cool, there's just a lot of cool things about it, and it has way more of an identity than just say an average American city that isn't iconic in any way. So I'm curious if you leverage that. Is being a Denver label part of who you are?
I would say a little bit.
Okay.
But more so in the sense that, like, I guess the way that we view Denver is like a little bit different. Like it is like a very big, well-known city. And, but I feel like because of that, there's so many, like the music scene here, especially, there's so many crazy pockets of bands that will never tour because it's 8 hours of a drive to get anywhere from Denver.
True.
Or they're just like amazing, but they haven't been discovered by like the big companies that own all of the venues and stuff like that. So it's very like, there's so many, like Denver does this underground music festival every year. So it's like a 3-day thing that they do downtown, and a bunch of like all the local bands are encouraged to apply. And so that they go through all the like underground artists, and they'll put them on a weekend showcase with a bunch of touring artists. But almost every year it's like the same artists, kind of like the same locals. It's very kind of like who like,
oh, that's too bad.
Like you never kind of see like the newer bands that are like that people are really seeing. Like,
right.
It's very just like, I don't know if they do it based on like, if it's like an algorithmic thing, if it's like, if you have listeners, but you don't have.
Yeah, that's too bad. Well, what's the DIY scene like? Like, do you do house shows or like shows in record stores? Or?
Yeah, I mean, the DIY scene is not as good as like I remember it. I think COVID kind of like, I think COVID killed the house show in general a little bit.
You're right.
Because house shows don't really happen much anymore. There's a lot of great like DIY stuff going on here though. Like we have this venue D3 that was opened maybe also like 2 years ago in Westwood, and it's this warehouse that they do like all kinds of art installations and punk shows, and it'll be like, it's so cool because they have like all of these ancient or like murals of Mexican art and stuff, like historical heritage, and then you'll have like 300 punk kids in there moshing and it's such a cool spot. And there's other like, besides us, there's a couple of other like small DIY labels in the area, like putting out really cool stuff, and we like love all of them. Our friends in Power Goth, if you've ever heard of them.
No.
They're kind of more of like a shoegaze emo label.
Oh, okay.
They put out some really good bands from here.
Nice. And so there's other labels you collaborate with in Denver?
We haven't collaborated with any yet on like releases or anything, but we've done like showcases and like
that's great.
We try to put on shows almost monthly when we're all like free, just with artists that we like that are playing around in the city, or like our bands or touring bands if they're coming through. We just I like to put on shows that are like not one of our bands.
Yeah.
And nobody on our roster, just like, these are some bands that we like, come see them.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a good thing that doesn't really happen a lot in cities like music scenes, because it's mainly leaned to like, how many tickets can you sell? You need to sell this many to
right,
to be able to play this show. And
well, I found that, it's interesting talking about like DIY and what COVID did to it. Like whether it was all COVID or was also just like, in the city I live is similar to Denver, probably similar in size, but it was like, it was the real estate too of like downtown markets and stuff where like it was no long, you'd make more money as a nice restaurant or as a condo than a venue. And then if it was a venue, it was owned by like a developer, or was owned by like a group, and they have to make money. And so to book that venue would be a lot of money, plus like curfew and union fees and stuff. And so I felt like there was just the downtown DIY venue died,
Yeah. And we have like, I feel like that happens a lot, especially as like the bigger companies will come in and sort of buy like smaller cap rooms like AEG, Live Nation. And we have plenty and amazing like independently owned venues here.
Right.
And we try to book through those as much as possible, like the High Dive or the Skylark Lounge, or even like a lot of more like dive bar places like the 715 Club or the Squire Lounge. They give like 100% to the bands.
Oh,
like
wow.
They take nothing from the door. They're just like,
just the bar.
Because we'll make money off drinks. Just come, like, we want to support.
That's great.
Instead of like some places where they're like, you get 30% of your ticket sales. And so definitely like navigating that for our own artists and for other people that we book.
Right.
Is like a big thing that.
Sorry, why are you involved with shows? I mean, that's not common for record labels. Historically, a record label is more worried about the label on the record, meaning they're just looking into the records and the music and the masters. And it's not entirely common for labels to be involved in shows. How involved are you when it comes, you talked about booking and that kind of stuff?
We're pretty involved with all of that. We try to I think we're still kind of at that like local level where we want to be giving back to the community, and we want to I don't want to just be like, buy our record, support our label, and get nothing in return.
Right.
Kind of like I want to be able to do events and show people also these are some other art Denver, because it's not just about our artists at the end of the day. It's about just the music and Denver and everything in general. As much as we want to support our artists, I don't know if you've seen on our website, just all of the merch stuff that we do.
Yes. I'm excited to talk to you about that.
Yeah. So we definitely as we were starting the label and brainstorming and figuring out all right, what services do we do? How can we make money?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. The branding and merchandise was a big thing for us, because we were bands have t-shirts. They use those t-shirts to reinvest in their recordings and stuff. So our like general idea was, what if we made like, we have a label that has its own merchandise and stuff like this brand, but then using those, you know, like the profits and stuff made from that to be able to support.
Yeah.
So kind of,
that's
so
smart.
Almost operating it as like a band operates their merch.
Oh, smart. Yeah.
In a way where it's like, if I buy these t-shirts and flip them, I can afford to like record my EP next month. But it's
but like easier said than done though, Hunter, because like,
definitely.
And the way that you've done it, I think it works, because to me, the stuff looks cool and I would want to wear it even if I'm not familiar with the label. And that's what's really important, because sometimes people will take their logo, even their not great logo, and slap it on like a Gildan t-shirt and think that people are going to buy it. And it's like, that's like an ugly t-shirt. That's like a free t-shirt you get at a marathon or something. It's really important that you create products that you would see in like Urban Outfitters, or you would see in H&M or something. Like, it's like just clothes that people would want to wear. I think you've done that, even just in the product shots you have on your website. My favorite, by the way, is a friend of Mean World is a friend of mine, that staggered text. That's a beautiful tee.
Yeah. We got those done. Those were actually done from us, like donated from a small print shop, which is the print shop that we're like partnered with for all of our apparel stuff.
Yeah.
So when we did an album release show for our artist Tiny Tomboy in February, and they came to the show and they brought me like all of these t-shirts.
Amazing.
That have like, they have like the friend of a friend, and then on the back they just have like our logo and their logo.
That's right.
And they're just like, they literally gave them to us to just like give to people at the show and to like give to friends. And so we were like, I think we have them on there for like $10. Like it's probably like the cheapest shirt you can buy.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it was just like a very cool collaboration thing that they wanted to do for the show, and like we work with them on all of our apparel.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about the merch that you have, and I mean, you have coffee as well, and all of it is, like I said, it's designed really well. What, you're talking about, this is about revenue sources to fund the music, fund the studio time, the mastering, the making of records. It's also, from my perspective, tell me if this is intentional, but from my perspective, it's building a lifestyle that's in concert with the music, and probably similar to the shows as well.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I grew up very into like streetwear and the whole like just brands doing all of that kind of like the guerrilla marketing, all of the like the kind of like hype stuff, your Supreme and stuff like that. So that's always been like in the back of my mind when we're making stuff, is like, I want to make something that's like worth it, that's going to be something that people want to wear, something that people can like wear out and will like live in. And it's not just like a band t-shirt that you buy and then sits in your closet until the next time that you see them in concert.
Well, it's, to me, it goes back to like the 80s with like the jean jackets and the pins and punk and stuff. And it's like this to me is really rooted in, and the music too, of like, your music is very similar to like 90s Pacific Northwest, like Seattle sound as well. And to me, it's like, there was like a scene there, and like the stuff that you the way you address like Vans and Converse and stuff, like it's all connected. And you don't really like, you don't see that as much, maybe because music is so splintered nowadays, but you don't really see.
I feel like everything is like either like online, like people listen to a lot of the same stuff, but have no idea because they don't like look at each other and they're like, oh, like I can tell that you, but I feel like what's cool and what's been cool since we started the label is like, we get people all the time. We have like friends that are in college and stuff here, like people will just text me and be like, this dude in my class is wearing a Mean World hat, or like, or like this guy is wearing a shirt, and they're like, I can't figure out who he is. And then like 2 weeks later, they're like, oh, he plays in this band or something.
Nice.
And it's like,
yeah.
And like, that's like funny to me that they're just like people will just kind of be like, oh, I saw someone like in your t-shirt today. I don't know who they are.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm like,
that's something nice about the local scene too, because that's not going to happen across the world or across the country. Hey friends, Scott here. I'll get you back to the episode in just a second. If you're an indie artist or a record label owner, having a clean professional website isn't just a nice to have, it's essential, because you have to point people to your Bandcamp and let folks see your awesome branding and link to your label's Spotify playlist or to sell merch. And the best way to do all of this and to do it easily and to make it look great, you should check out Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your presence online. Whether it's for your band, your label, or your next release, Squarespace makes it super simple to build a beautiful site that's as professional as your music. I've personally used Squarespace for years for my label, for artist pages, and even for other recordlabels.com. Their templates are great looking, flexible, and super easy to use. No coding required. You just drag, drop, customize, and you're good to go. You can sell merch, embed your latest release, link to tour dates or events, grow your email list, or even host your own press kits for your releases all in one place. It's super fast, super intuitive. So if you're ready to make your online presence as great as your next release, go to otherrecordlabels.com/Squarespace and use the code ORL10. That's ORL10 at the checkout to get 10% off your first website or domain. Again, that's otherrecordlabels.com/Squarespace. Promo code ORL10. Now back to the episode. Okay, let's talk about the logo. By the way, the reason I want to talk about your logo is because we were just talking about this a couple of weeks ago in our label mates group, and just this little dude with the like the little vinyl record, and he's giving two middle fingers. I was talking to our group, and I was telling we were talking about making record label logos, and I know that there's no truths to art and there's no absolutes. Like, you can't really say one thing is the way it should be done. But I was telling our group that like the black and white caricature, or like even you also have Mean World Records, just as kind of like sketched a warbly look. I just feel like that is like the quintessential record label logo from like the starting in like maybe the 70s all the way to today. I just feel like everyone should have a little black and white logo. When I see like these kind of big, colorful, splashy 3D logos, I'm like, that doesn't feel like a traditional logo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think for that too, it's like just looking at like the big companies that like we look up to, whether that's fashion or other labels, and kind of looking at their logos. And to me, I also want something that's simple enough to where people can put on like I can take this PNG and put it on anything and you can see it.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's like a super busy, colorful thing, like
that's right,
it's not gonna look good on a flyer or on printed out or.
Yeah. And too many details. When it gets shrunk down, it gets lost. You're absolutely right. That's a great point. I mean, like Sub Pop is iconic in the sense that you could shrink it super down small and you would know what it is. And it's funny because talking about planning and geeking out on the little things, but if I were to start a new label and think of, and think from the ground up, about a logo and about a name, I would want to test it on like, what does this look like if I shrink it down super small on a CD spine or even on a cassette spine? It's like, I can't even read that. I would want to know, like, does it screen print nicely? Like, what would this look like as a die cut sticker? I imagine you probably have die cut stickers with that little guy. Like, what does that look like, across? And you really need to flesh that out in every instance.
Because I feel like definitely like we wanted something that's like, I want the simplest, boldest thing that I can throw everywhere that like people will like look at and associate with like with us. And I think that is kind of started like, I mean, we have stickers. I'm trying to see if I can find one in like my no, but we have some like glow in the dark stickers of like the guy that like don't even say the label or anything on them, but like
it's beautiful. I see it on your website.
They kind of stand alone because people like see it and they're like, oh, that's the like Mean World guy.
Or you know what though, or not, in the sense that you look at this guy, he's whistling, like he doesn't care. He's not looking at the camera. He's looking off. He's giving 2 middle fingers, wearing like Mickey Mouse gloves. And like this to me, any music fan who looks at that goes, I love vinyl, I love music, and I don't care what you think about my music collection. Like I like what I like, and that's it. I'm not going to listen to what you tell me to listen to or what you think is cool. Like it has an identity, whether or not it's Mean World. If people recognize it as Mean World or not, it connects to people. I know we're getting into the weeds here, but this is important stuff.
No, yeah. I feel like locally when people see it, they're like, oh yeah, I know that. Like,
sure.
And then definitely like just having something like that where they're like, oh, that it's the little vinyl. He looks like he doesn't care. Yeah. Like he looks like he's like doing his own thing. He doesn't care about anything else.
Yes.
And that's like,
that's art. Like, that's what art.
Yeah,
that represents art.
And that was the biggest thing for me before even like starting anything for the label was just like, I need the branding and all of that to be finished, because that is the most essential part to me. I was also like, I don't want to put out like a vinyl release and then a year later change the logo. And then it not be like,
well, and the reason why like I was kind of alluding to this, and you know, the next time we do our Label Mates group, I will use this as an example, because the reason why I was kind of alluding to these types of logos, and people in our community, we have millions of them like that have this type of logo, is I feel like they're timeless, even though they are kind of a little bit 90s, you know, or like the cartoons of the 80s that were like public service announcements. Like they would use little characters like say like, don't smoke, you know, like, or smoking will kill you, or like put out your fires when you're camping. But like, this is like, I feel like they're timeless right now. Like they stretch across, because I know a lot of labels in like the 2010s or even the 2020s would like do like maybe more of a abstract or digital or geometric logo or whatever.
Yeah.
I just feel like these characters are timeless.
Yeah, like people kind of are doing things now more for the digital, like using the technology that we have to do some really cool stuff. But then it's like, it doesn't translate back to like the stuff that's still kind of like outdated in a sense, like physical media and things that you can't really print a crazy 3D design on.
And you know what, honestly, I would say too, like, even though I love some of these, like the hand-drawn stuff is my favorite. I do think like typography logos, like Sub Pop, Father Daughter is like where there's just letters involved. I think that's also can lend itself to being somewhat timeless.
That's what I definitely was like, we were looking at fonts and stuff for a while, and I had to stop because I was like, going just down a big rabbit hole of just font styles and like which one is going to be the right one. So
I know,
thankfully, like we also work with a bunch of like great graphic designers and people. So like the ease of mind of kind of being able to trust other people to like make those decisions is nice sometimes.
Well, that's a great segue. Let's talk about the section on your website about artist services, where you direct artists to a studio, like a recording studio or graphic design tools or screen printing. Are these things that are a part of your revenue streams, or is this just a way to kind of be a resource to artists on your label or not on your label?
So some of them definitely are, like the graphic design thing that we offer is like more so in-house, which is like more like budget-friendly flyers and stuff that we'll do for local shows.
Yeah.
And stuff where a local band doesn't want to pay over $50 for their show flyer.
That's great.
Or something. It's like, you shouldn't have to you shouldn't use Canva or AI to do it. And you shouldn't spend more than $200
on a show. You're only going to take home $150 from. Yeah.
So being able to offer some stuff like that.
That's
and
cool.
Then we're partnered with a small print shop. So they're our go-to for all of our printing. So I think if you click onto that, it takes you to our collaborative link. So it's the all small print shop and Mean World Records page.
Yeah.
And so we do get a tiny 5% or something from orders placed through that.
That's nice. Yeah.
Which usually just gets added onto our orders.
Yeah.
If so, but it's they're a great company to work with. And the studio stuff is one of our great friends owns a studio in Nashville, and he's done a lot of the vinyl mastering for our releases and mixing. And so just kind of having these are the people that we trust and our go-to people. So if you're looking for somebody and you like the stuff that we do.
Yeah. Well, and now that I see that you have some consulting, very affordable consulting services and booking services, and it's this is smart for labels because you're doing it. You're doing it all the time. You live in this space. You live in this world, and it's there'd be a lot of artists who would want to be on your label just because they want someone to help them with some of these things that they're not good at or they don't enjoy doing. But for you, not every label can, a label can't sign every artist, right? Of course. So but to be able to kind of help each other in a certain way. And if they're giving you $50 to make a poster or $100 to help them book shows, it's almost like you're donating your expertise and they're donating to you to help you do what you do.
Yeah. And it's that's kind of, with the shows that we put on, the showcases and stuff like that, we're there at the shows. We set up our merch booth and stuff. So that's another way for us to bring in income and revenue to fuel what we're doing. Is my thoughts are, for me, is a lot of typical show bookers and stuff, they'll take 10% of a show or something to put it on. If I was to do that and be I'll put the show together for 10% of the ticket sales or something, I might do all of that work and walk out of there with $40
right
for the night. And at that point, I'd rather just give that back to the artists. What am I gonna so I think having the merch and stuff that we can sell that also provides something other than just these people, they're well, they'll throw you on a show, but they want 20% of your ticket sales. It's we don't want any of that. We just want to support, and hopefully if people are having a good time, maybe they'll buy a shirt or something before they leave.
I love that. I love that mentality. Let me ask you about these booths and stuff, because I did see that on your website as well. And we have another label in our community who got really successful with that. I two labels that I can think of. And I think it's such a missed opportunity by so many labels about going to, think of anywhere, and I want to ask you where you've done this or where you hope to do it, but any kind of festival or event that's in your hometown, craft show, record show, fairs, whatever, to see a record label, aside from maybe, I don't know, I honestly, anywhere aside from a record label fair, which there aren't many in the world, but to see a record label booth with cool merch like this, anybody who's local or loves music would stop by and be this is cool. It's just a novelty. And it bums me out that more labels don't do it. So talk to me a little bit about setting up a booth? Where do you go? Where do you want to go?
Yeah. So we do a lot like at shows and stuff, especially like shows that we put on. If any of our artists are playing like shows, we're usually set up there like next to them with a couple things. But we've also done some stuff like art markets and like
cool
stuff like where they'll have 10 vendors that most of them, they sell like vintage clothing or like rings and all kinds of stuff, but then we'll be there and we have like some funny stickers and some t-shirts, and it's like it's definitely like a different thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like people like that when they go into like a place like that, like a vintage market or like a thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this is not like, this is actually like new and novelty. And it's kind of the same way that like people sell, I guess people that make like art and sell like their prints.
Yep.
That stuff, it's kind of like the same thing. It's like, this is the record that I made.
Yeah, but selling the prints and the paintings or like glass art that you see at farmers market all the time, or pottery, no disrespect to them, but that's common. You see that all the time. Yeah. Every farmers market or craft fair has someone who's doing, this watercolors or doing this type of painting.
Yeah.
But like never do I see a record label. And it's like outside of record label fairs, it would be such a novelty to walk down. And here's what you kind of alluded to that I think is so cool is like, let's say there's an antique show or like an antique fair, something with booths. Like the people who go there to antique fairs, like a good number of them, especially young people, probably also collect vinyl. Because they like a living room with like cool teak furniture and probably have a turntable, probably have speakers. They probably collect vinyl and therefore they collect vintage vinyl, and they also probably have a couple new records. And so when they see you, it's not hard to make that, to go to certain things, to go to like, wherever your local coffee shop is, if you were set up a booth in your local coffee shop, or it's like, it's not hard to kind of connect the demographic dots is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And then, because it's like they see it and they're like, because it is art too. So like a lot of people I've noticed when we've done like art markets and stuff, they'll come up to like the vinyl and they'll ask questions like about who designed the packaging and like they'll ask questions that like about like more of like the art of it, which Good is point. Like very cool than just them just being like, it's like at a show they're like, oh yeah, I know this is my friend, like I'm gonna buy this. Like
yeah, I mean that's such a great point. You're at an art show, you're looking at people's acrylic paintings, you're like, this is cool, I like the texture, I'm not going to spend $350 on this piece though, but I really like it. And then they look at your album covers and you have some really cool stuff, and to be like, wow, this is really nice, oh, it's $25, maybe I will buy this. Like everyone wants to come home with something from an art fair.
Definitely.
Oh, that's cool. You got to keep me posted on how that goes, because that's something I feel like labels need to do more and more of. And like, we always think globally, right? We always think like I can make more money or reach more people through TikTok and through YouTube and through anywhere where I can get 5,000 impressions or 50,000 impressions, blah, blah, blah. And it's like people just, because of that, they really throw out the concept of local engagement, local sales. I really think that if you set up a booth on a street fair, sidewalk sale or whatever on a beautiful summer day, I think you'll make more money than you would if you sent Facebook ads out to people to come check out your label.
Yeah. And we've been like, just being a part of Denver and like working with other companies, we've been trying to like find ways that we can do something that's special and that we can make money from, that's like not something that just another label is doing, or like like the coffee that we just put out is like one of my proudest things I think that I've ever had the chance to like.
How did that work?
Do from so Crazy Enough was kind of just a brainstorm thought that we had a few months ago. I've seen it done before.
Sure.
From other big bands. I recently my partner and I saw Hippocampus play in Denver. I think this was early February, maybe, but they had just put out like a coffee blend for their new album.
Nice.
With like a local coffee roaster. And it was like, the packaging was like exact the same as the vinyl. Like they like went together, and I bought it. I was like, this is amazing. It's like, I've seen other people do it before, but like that kind of like actually like buying one, bringing it home and like experiencing, like going through that experience of like, I was like, this is really cool. And I know like like the National has done one, and some other like big bands have done stuff. We all love coffee. Most of us are like, a lot of us are baristas during the day and during the week for like part-time stuff when we're home, you know?
Oh yeah. It's not hard to draw that line between artists and coffee drinkers.
Yeah. And we were trying to find something to like, you know, should we put out another t-shirt? Should we, what's next?
Yeah.
And I was like, we should try. So like I was doing some research. We love this company, Queen City Collective. They're based out of Denver. They're probably my favorite. Like before I even reached out to them, they're like the coolest people, like my favorite.
Okay.
Everything is like very like ethically sourced. Like they know personally the families that they get coffee beans from and stuff, which is
oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So cool. It's like very like, and I sent them an email and was like, hey, like we're a label. We kind of have this idea. Like I'd love to like, and I think like the next day they were like, this sounds great. They're like, when do y'all want to come in and like cup some coffee? And like, so we planned it and we went in, we did the whole like tasting thing. We tasted like 8 different blends and had like all the different temperatures and got to do all of that. Which
so you like weren't just like putting your label on it, like generic beans.
No, yeah, like we did like the whole like
that's so
cupping thing that like people do when they're starting a coffee.
Yeah. That's right.
We all decided like the one that we liked the most, and then figured out like the packaging and branding and stuff once that was done, and got it all in. I mean, now we basically just like the labels are there at the roastery, and we just like pick up, like they bag it all and do it, and we just pick it up as
and so
needed.
you're selling them on your website, but are you selling them like, I feel like that's more of like an at shows or at events thing.
Yeah. So we're definitely like,
would the local record store though like carry a couple bags on the counter?
I think so. So we're kind of like, we just got these in maybe last week.
Okay.
So it's like very like, we're almost through like the first round and about to like
nice
get more. I did just start I work at like a small independent owned coffee shop like part-time.
Yeah.
And they were like, bring in the beans. So like they're selling the beans.
That's
like,
great.
Like the wholesale bags next to like all the other.
Well, I've noticed that people are buying coffee bags based very in the same way they buy craft beer or wine bottles, with, you know, by the label. And so to see like a cool record label logo on a black bag, you know, that would attract some people.
And they came out. Actually, I had some like right here. They came out
beautiful. So for our listeners, you can watch on YouTube, but it's perfect. It's perfect. And I didn't realize too, like the way that it's a black bag and then a sticker, the label is a giant sticker. So you're not having to order. I would be worried about ordering like 500 bags of coffee that's going to go stale in a couple of weeks, couple of months. So it's like on demand.
Yeah. The way that we could do like a full custom bag.
Yeah.
And stuff. And we probably will, assuming that like the sales do what we're hoping that they do.
Yeah.
But they don't have to be like, we would basically order the bulk empty bags, bring them to the roaster, and then like if on a Monday morning I'm like, we need 50 bags this week, they'll like package it all fresh before like, so it's also not like sitting there, because that's been another thing that's been like, when we got it in, I was like, this is the first perishable product that we have. It feels like it feels more like a real business than t-shirts and vinyl. It does, because like the vinyl and they can just sit there for like a year and then I can still sell them.
Although I'm sure you're grinding a lot of these beans at home. Like this, you now never have to buy coffee again.
Yeah, that's all of us are like, we like put the order in. We're like, all right, we can get the coffee for ourselves wholesale at this price now. And like, that's honestly self-fulfilling.
One of the things I love about what you're doing is that not only are you running a record label, helping artists, you are doing the things that I try to tell people to do, which is diversify revenue streams and just like do a lot of different things within the lifestyle of music and music fans. But like by doing those things, you are supporting other local business, other artisans, like these coffee roasters, and I mean they probably appreciate your business. Like you're not. I'm assuming you're not a nuisance for them. Like you're now creating a new revenue stream for them, and it's so cool.
It's so much better to me than like, I feel like we could probably, like with doing research, I probably could have found some like outsourced coffee that we could buy bulk.
Definitely. Yeah.
Like that would be cheap or something, but it wouldn't be something that I would want to sell. It wouldn't be like the novelty of like, this is also another this is two Denver companies now that have come together to like make this product.
You could buy beans from Costco and put them in a craft paper bag and slap your logo on it.
But it's and it's like, if it's not better, then
I'm sure people have done that.
Yeah, like just when we got these in, and funny enough, I was like, the 2 weeks before we had kind of like, we were like placing the order, like, all right, we're gonna get this order in. We're like, so I'm like running out of coffee at home. I'm just like waiting. I'm like, all right, well, we'll get our order soon, so I'll have like the really good beans. I bought like I bought a bag of like really cheap, not good coffee, just like from the grocery store. I was like, this will last me like the week until the coffee gets in. The day that it like came in and I brought it all home, like my car smelled so good. Everything. The house smells so good. I like opened one of the bags and just like side by side, like smelled like our like coffee. And then like the one that I bought at the store last week. And I was like, I'm never drinking this store.
It's true.
The store, like,
it's true. Like just juicy, greasy beans, fresh beans that smell good. There's nothing better than that. It's almost better than drinking it.
Are you a big coffee drinker?
I am. Yeah.
Let me know after this. Send me your address.
Lovely.
I'll send you some.
Lovely. Thank you. Yeah, I can't wait. That's awesome. Listen, I gotta go. I've taken your time too long, but I love what you're doing. I love everything about it. And it's the type of label that I would want to make myself, that I think other people should be making, which is this creating this collective, this community, this culture. I think it's awesome. I honestly can't believe you've only been doing it for 2 years. By the way, I was on your website today. One of the things that, because I go to record label websites multiple times a day for my job, it always pisses me off when I can't listen to the label's music easily. And I clicked on playlists on your website, and there's these folks listening need to go and look to meanworldrecords.com. There's these playlists embedded, and they're categorized by theme or by genre, but they're all like mostly your label releases. And it's like, that's great for fans. It's great for people like me who need to research. Anyway, bravo to that. So many people forget to post their music on their website.
No, yeah, definitely. There's so many like little things, and that's stuff that I've had to like learn, and I'm still learning. Like I'll be on the website like editing stuff one day, and I'll like look up and I'm like, I'm like, why is this page named that or something? Like it should be like the SEO stuff is not as it should be. And like fixing that stuff. Cause now like when I go to other people's websites or like I'm looking at stuff and I'm like, I click on something and I'm like, where is this taking me? I'm like,
yeah, I know.
I can't navigate back. I'm like, this website is confusing.
It always frustrates me because it's like, I'm a converted fan. Like you already have me. I'm trying to I'm trying to buy this record. I'm trying to like click through and pre-order this record, and I'm keep getting sent to the same spot, and then it's sending me back to your Instagram, and then there's no link, or like I'm like, dude, like I am a fan and I can't do this. What about like a passerby?
Yeah, and we've thought about like, especially like I know like other websites and companies that are like kind of at the same level as us a lot do, like they'll have advertisements on their websites and stuff. So like they're like partnering with Google.
Yeah.
Stuff. I just hate. I'm like, I don't care how much money it
I haven't seen that very much.
Or like it would bring in. I'm like, nothing frustrates me more than like going to any website and it's like every sidebar and stuff is just ads and like you can't even see.
I remember that. I don't see that too many times anymore, but yeah, I could see what you're I
feel like a lot of like if people are starting like Squarespace or a Wix
that's
or something in there, it's like it gives them the option and they're oh yeah, let's see, and they just don't set it up, and it's like,
or if they're doing the free model, that's usually what happens. Hunter, you got a great label. Thanks for your time to chat today, and congrats on what you've done so far.
Of course, thank you so much.
Thank you all for listening. Go to meanworldrecords.com. You can check them out on Bandcamp. You can check them out on their homepage, where you can check out this coffee and some of the merch we were talking about. Thanks so much to Hunter for taking the time to chat with me and sharing some of his experiences with his label and some of his wisdom. As always on these episodes, I hope that you are inspired at the very least just to kind of hit the pavement and to keep doing what you're doing with your record label. But also maybe you're inspired to do something completely new and to shift things around a little bit. Or if you've been just, sniffing around the idea of starting a record label and you haven't really gotten up the courage to do it. The point of these episodes, 360 odd episodes in, is to prove to you that everyone can do it. Anyone can do it. And it should be you, I think, to start a record label. Thanks again to our friends at Lander for making our weekly episodes free to everyone. If you want to support the show, go check out Lander to be your next digital distributor by going to otherrecordlabels.com/Lander. That's spelled LANDR. They have some incredible features for their subscribers. So go to otherrecordlabels.com/Lander for your digital distribution needs.